Angela Merkel has emerged as the key player in saving Greece from default, but the German Chancellor has had to balance her penchant for fiscal discipline with Germany's need for a strong euro. That is the focus of the new issue of Bloomberg Businessweek. You see it right there. Hit stands today. We're joined by the magazine's assistant managing editor, Jim Ellis. Jim, there's no question Angela Merkel is in a very powerful position, but also in the hot seat right now, beset effectively by conflicts on the proverbial horns of a dilemma.
It is amazing that for a country that has prided itself on being so disciplined from a financial standpoint, now something that's completely out of their control is sort of directing how German policy has to go forward. I mean, Germany's done a very good job of profiting from, selling to others in the EU. About almost half of their exports actually go in the EU, not to the rest of the world. So therefore, they need to keep that propped up. With the common currency, with the euro, places like Greece don't have a lot of wiggle room. They don't, they manage their fiscal, affairs, but they don't manage their own monetary affairs. So since they share a currency, Merkel has to step in and impose some discipline on a country that's completely gotten out of control. Greece has let its deficits go up to about 12% of GDP. That's huge. And so there's got to be something, or otherwise people will start to freak out and they'll suddenly say, well, will Spain be next? Will Portugal be next? Will all of Southern Europe fall?
Jim, let's talk about one of the alternative opportunities you guys outline in this story about Angela Merkel, the coal road. What does it really mean? It refers to the former Chancellor Helmut Kohl.
Right. I mean, what happened there was that, he's the person who decided that we had to bring the East in, and we have to basically, sort of hunker down, spend the money to have reunification with the East. That was very unpopular for a long time in Germany because it took over $1 trillion, but in the end, it did work. What that means, though, is that you have to get your support, your local support, and convince people that long-term it's in our best interest to now suffer. She's going to have to do that, and it's uncertain yet whether the German people really want to go along with it.
No question, she is in a very difficult position. Let's talk about a couple other stories, though, in this week's issue of Bloomberg Businessweek. One about USAA. This is a company that we don't talk much about. You guys did a customer service survey and found out that they end up on the top of the heap. What's it all about?
USAA is a really interesting company. We've done our customer service champs survey for 4 years running, and every year they've been either #1 or #2. They are a very interesting company. They're the military insurer for just active duty military veterans and their families. And
so unless you're in the military, you might never have heard of them.
You might never have heard of them, although they're actually very large. They're over $60 billion in assets. And what's really interesting about them is that they concentrate so much on that market that everyone who works there has to learn the market. When you, even as a customer service agent who takes phones in a phone bank, you have to eat MREs, meals ready to eat. You have to wear flak jackets. You have to read actual deployment letters, so you understand the sort of financial stresses that these people go through, often with no time to make a decision.
And how does that translate into superior customer service?
It translates in that now when a customer service agent gets your call about I have to send a check, I have to do whatever, you understand that this person might not have spoken to their spouse in 6-8 weeks. They've got to make a decision right now, and often they're very stressed out. The other thing is that USAA is great on mobile because they're dealing with people who are maybe in Afghanistan, might be in Iraq, and so you can actually deposit checks by iPhone. You take a picture on your iPhone, and there's an app that goes directly to it, puts it in. Later on this year, they're going to start doing text messaging money back and forth. The whole idea is that this is a $63 billion operation. It only has one office, one branch.
Amazing. Let's finally get to this other story that really appeals to me because it's about buying local. And I buy local like many of us do because I think of myself as a bit of a locavore. I want that fresh food, but this goes beyond that, right?
Right. There's a growing movement that buying local actually has a strong economic impact on your local area. What's happening now is there's a big increase in the number of local organizations that support local business and push and market them to customers there. So it says buy local, or if not that, buy your state, and don't use the big boxes. A lot of people thought that was just sort of a lefty, loosey-goosey kind of thing, but there was a study done in Grand Rapids that said if 10% of all the money that was spent at big box chain stores were actually spent locally, you would get an increase of about 1,600 jobs.
All right. Jim Ellis, assistant managing editor at Bloomberg Businessweek. Thanks for joining us with a preview of this week's issue on Stands Today.